قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the chapter of Fussilat, in verse number 53, He says, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. We will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves, حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ, until it becomes clear to them that He, Allah, is the truth. أَوَلَمْ يَكْفِ بِرَبِّكَ أَنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. Is it not sufficient for you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bears witness over all things? صدق الله العلي العظيم. آمنا بالله. إخواني أخواتي, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry, I feel like I have to prop myself up. I'm not that tall. There we go. صارت حجي. بارك الله فيك. خلاص. In the last couple of nights, we were able to uncover important realities and truths. And the term that we used to describe what we did was Tawheed. We basically proved not only the existence of Allah, the Creator, but also His most important characteristic, right? So not only does the Creator exist, but He has a very important characteristic. Can anybody tell me what that characteristic is? That He is what? Unlimited. Ahsantum. Yes. Now, since He is unlimited, we said that means that He has no beginning and no end, right? Because those are limitations. And therefore, He must be what? He must have always existed and will always exist. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. That also means that He is everywhere. He sees all things without the need for an apparatus with which to see. And He hears all things without the need for an apparatus with which to hear. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Why? Because those are limitations. And we proved that He's unlimited. That also means that He has no flaws. Why? Because flaws are limits, right? Therefore, He is flawless. That means then, since He is flawless, another word for flawless is what? Perfect. Ahsant Ali. Exactly. So that means then that Allah is all perfect, which means that He doesn't contradict Himself, right? You and me, we can contradict ourselves. But Allah does not contradict Himself. Allah does not make mistakes. Also, since He is all perfect, that means everything that He does with a purpose and for a purpose. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Right? Now we said, here now, where we left off, is we said, okay, well, what is my purpose then? I understand that everything has a purpose. We also said that since He is purposeful and He created me, that means I have a purpose, right? And that also means that I have great worth. Why? Because who created me? The all-perfect, unlimited Creator. Which means that He determined my importance, not your friends at school, right? The cool kids, the jocks, right? Not your boss at work, not the president of your country, right? No. Only whom? Allah, right? So the all-perfect determined you worthy of existing. So how worthy are you then? How valuable are you truly? Allah, yes, very valuable. So that means then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything on this earth for greatness, not for lowliness. Does that make sense? That means each one of us has an innate, an inborn, that's what innate means, inborn, right? Potential that must be realized. And if we don't do what Allah wants for us in this world, then we will not reach our potential. Does that make sense? If I ask, let me give you a simple example. If I ask the unlimited for something, right? The possibilities of what He will give me is limited or unlimited? Unlimited. But if I ask someone limited for something, then the potential for me getting something unlimited from them is what? Zero. Right? It has to be limited. So for example, we find this, let's take simple examples. And I don't mean to pick on the parents, but we will a little. Okay, is that okay? Mikhalif? مثلا, as an example, growing up, sometimes our parents, they promise us to take us places, right? Like Canada's Wonderland, for example. Okay. But then what happens? Something happens and they're unable to. صح? Or our parents may say, I promise I will take you to ziyarah. Might be something really good, not just something that's just fun for this dunya, right? Could be something that brings you closer to Allah, but then something happens. Either a lack of funds, either a lack of health, either the job didn't allow them to fulfill that promise. You see? So when a limited person makes you, of course, that doesn't mean they don't want to take you for ziyarah, right? Of course, they want to take you for ziyarah. It's just that sometimes things get in the way. You see? So now that I understand this, I say, okay, so then who should I be asking? First and foremost, Ali, Allah. Why? Because what will He give me? Unlimited results. You see? Okay? أحسنت ولئن شكرتم لأزيدنكم. بارك الله بك علي أحسن. And if you were to thank me, then I will give you more in prosperity. Now, صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. شوية ماي شباب بلا زحمة. أحسنتم بارك الله بكم. Okay, so now that I understand this, now I want to say, so what is my purpose then, right? Isn't that why we're here? I promised you yesterday, left you on a cliffhanger. I said, tomorrow we'll talk about what our purpose is. Yes? If yes, say yes. Good. Do you guys want to know what the purpose is? Yes? You're here to know your purpose, yeah? Okay, good. All right, so our purpose is very simple. We can take simple examples from our daily lives. For example, our parents, right? They brought us to this world. Now, because they brought us to this world, I feel, you and I, we feel an innate, an inborn sense of obligation towards them. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Right? Now, what does that entail, that obligation? I always feel like I need to please them. Am I right? If I'm right, say you're right. Right? Right? And I always want them to be proud of me. Am I right? If I'm right, say you're right. Exactly. So even if I become much older, and even if, inshallah, may Allah prolong the lives of all of your parents, even if I lose one of my parents, right, and they pass away, and after years and years, and some of the fathers here and mothers will attest, that after years and years, seeing how proud you are of your children, you say, Ya Allah, Allah, لو الوالد كان موجود حتى يشوف ابني شلون طلع. Right? Oh, my father would be so proud. My mother would be so proud if she was to see how great my sons have turned out or my daughters have turned out. Am I right, parents? So this continues. Why? Because it's an innate sense of obligation. We feel that our parents have a right upon us because they brought us to this world. And what else did they do for us? Who can tell me? Yes, Ali. Nurtured, cared for us. Raised us, right? Did they feed us? Yes. Did they shelter us? Did they teach us how to walk? How to talk? Right? Look at all of these great things that they provided for us, right? So that explains why I feel that they have a great right upon us. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Good. So what about He who gave us our parents and their parents? And their parents, would He not have by priority an even greater right upon us? Would you agree? If you agree, say I agree. Right? If I'm right, tell me I'm right. Good. I like to hear that I'm right. So that means then that should I not have that same sense of obligation to my Creator and by priority and like to the highest level with Allah or no? Am I right? Sento. So that means then my purpose in life primarily, first and foremost, is to show gratitude to Allah. Is to show gratitude to Allah, to please Allah. Does that make sense? You might say, Sheikhna, it's that simple? It's that simple. Ask your parents. Huh? Is it that simple that all you want is for your kids to please you and that is enough to provide you with happiness? Am I right, parents? Yes? So imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created all of creation for us, right? So that we can thrive, so that we can reach our potential. The least that we can do is fulfill that right that He has upon us, and that is to please Him. So then anything that I do, since He gave me self-worth, since He gave me purpose in life, since He gave me my parents, since He gave me the very breath that I breathe, that I have to thank Him at the very least. So how do I thank Him? There's several ways to thank Him. Okay, so my purpose in life is to show gratitude to Allah, right? That is the most important purpose. And how do I do it? There's several ways. The first way is, you ever see a child when they're growing up, they try to copy their elders? Am I right? Right? They've even made commercials about this, where you see the little boy or the little girl emulating and copying their mom or their dad, how they take off their glasses, how they hold their pen, right? This continues as you grow older, right? To the point where when guests come, you tell your parents, no, can I present? Can I? Your parents, maybe they'll come to you and say, أنت أخذ صينية الشاي وأنت قدم. أنت أخذ صينية الشاي وأنت قدمي. صح? And when you actually do that, what do people say? They say, MashaAllah, huh? ألف رحمة على أبيك. Huh? ألف رحمة على والديك. May Allah bestow His mercy upon your parents, for they raised you so well. Yes? How does that make you feel inside? How? Pleased, happy, right? That sense of pleasure that you feel inside. Why? Because you were able to show that the hard work of your parents has paid off. Through what? Through emulation. So then what I should do is apply the same idea. If I see how Allah has treated everything in this world and I emulate Him, then I truly will be godly in my behavior. Does that make sense? So then I've adopted a divine system and code of ethics. You see? So number one, we said, since Allah created us, then we are very worthy. We have great value, which means I need to appreciate all of humanity around me. Every single creation that Allah has created, right? That means a good Muslim is going to be a person who recycles, right? A person who's kind to others. A person who doesn't belittle or humiliate others. Why? Because he sees the innate value of everything. You're worthy, and you're worthy, and you're worthy, and you're worthy, and you're worthy of Allah creating you. So who am I to belittle you? Because then I would be belittling the creation of the unlimited, which means then I would be belittling the Creator. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, say it makes sense. So then number one, to realize my purpose, primarily the simplest way I can come up with is to emulate, follow, and copy my Creator in how He treats everything. So I give everything value and everything worth. And now, how I look at even the disbeliever becomes with a godly eye, right? Because I say, well, may Allah guide you, even when he does something wrong. And we see this with Imam Hussein, right? That Imam Hussein, despite the fact, to the last minute, when Shimr is on his chest, what does he say to him? He says, there's still a chance for you. There's still a chance, right? Before the battle, Burayr, one of the companions of the Imam, Habib ibn Mudahir, another companion of the Imam, when they gave their speeches before the battle, they would actually say to the other camp, the troops on the other side of Yazid and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad and Amr ibn Sa'd, they'd say to them, listen, right now we are still brothers in faith, but once you attack us, one of us will fall out of faith, and that will be you. You see? To the last minute, we give people worth and we give them opportunity, right? So now I'm going to be what? A custodian of this world. And how I look at everybody around me will be as a shepherd, meaning what? كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Now I understand what that means. Each of you is a shepherd, and each of you is responsible for your herd, right? So we're responsible for each other. I'm responsible for you just as you're responsible for me, right? Say, Sheikh, I just saw you. How am I responsible for you? You see, but if you think on a deeper level, right, and you have true tawheed, then now instead of, trying to ignore the Sheikh when he looks at you, right, or look aside or hope he doesn't say salam to me, what are you going to do? You're going to approach. Does that make sense? Yes? Instead of you being too shy to talk to someone, you'll come and you'll want to know what their belief system is. Does that make sense? Yeah? And you'll want to appreciate how they think. It might not be right, right? But we see this is what the prophets do. Prophet Ibrahim would sit with those who are worshiping the sun and the moon and the planets and the stars, right? And the concept of worshiping a God and that there is a God is something that's innate in everyone. So that's what they were doing. But the problem is they were misdirected, right? Their logic was false. So what does Prophet Ibrahim say? He says, as soon as the sun disappears, the stars, the planets, the moon disappears, what does he say? He said, oh, my God does not disappear. So he puts a criterion and a standard for Allah, for them. Say, okay, look, your idea of worship is good, but, right, you're approaching it the wrong way. There's something you're missing here. Yes, you should worship a God, but these are the wrong idols, right? Celebrities are the wrong idols for you to follow. NBA players are the wrong idols for you to follow, right? Influencers are the wrong idols for you to follow. You can apply that to everything here, you see? Okay. 1 minute they're up, 1 minute they're down. 1 minute they're happy, 1 minute they're sad. 1 minute they have followers, the next minute they don't have followers. 1 minute they're depressed, 1 minute they're happy, right? So then don't make those who you worship limited beings. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, say it makes sense. Rather, direct your energy of worship, right? And your appreciation to whom? To the unlimited creator, Allah. Does that make sense? Okay, so emulation is the first way to thank Allah and to show him appreciation and to fulfill his right upon us. A second way, right? And this is all logically so far, right? It's all logic. A second way is to actually ask Allah, what is it that you want from me? Does that make sense? Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, it's your dad's birthday, or let's say it's Father's Day. Because we got a lot of weird presents on Father's Day, right, dads? Yeah, right? And the mothers will attest as well. Now, you can get a gift for your dad or for your mom, right? And they might say, oh, thank you so much. I love it. But you know that really they would have preferred something else. Am I right? If I'm right, say I'm right. Right? Now, what could you have done in order to get them something that would benefit them? One of the dads said it. What? Ask them, exactly, right? Just go up and ask them. Or ask your mom, what do you think dad wants? Did dad tell you? Right? Or ask one of the siblings who you think your dad opens up to or your mom opens up to more than you. Or ask your khala or your khalo or your amma or your ammo. Ask, but ask. Preferably ask that person who you're going to give a gift to. Why? Because they'll appreciate. Am I right, parents? Will you appreciate or no? But enough to know what is on their mind and what it is they want. Now they might tell you, hi, someone تعارف. المؤمن مجامل. Right? They'll say, ها لا ماكو داعي لا تتعب حالك, it's okay. ما احتاج شيء, هو انت كفايه, انت كفايه, ما دام انت بصحه وعافيه وانت بصحه وعافيه. But they might want something else. So keep kind of drilling until you now once you know, there's this appreciation that, wow, they really care about what to get me. They're not just, it's not just a shot in the dark, right? And what do? When the time comes and you get the gift, even though you know, right? And parents can correct me if I'm wrong. Even though you know, right, what you're going to get, is it any less satisfying or is it more satisfying when you get the gift? More satisfying, exactly, right? Because you sense that, alhamdulillah, that I raised children that actually care enough to find out, and follow through and deliver, right? Got it? If you got it, say I got it. Okay, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now I'm going to ask Allah, oh Allah, what is it that you want from me? What is it that you want me to do? You brought me to this world. You brought me for a purpose. I recognize that the purpose is to show you gratitude and thank you for allowing me to exist, for allowing me to be in the presence of greatness. For surely Allah, being unlimited, right? Allah is great. He's greater than any limited being, right? Once I realize that, I'm going to live a life where I am God-wary, where I'm aware that Allah is in my presence. And so what happens? Something takes over me. And that thing is called piety, okay? It's called taqwa. It's called fear of displeasing Allah, fear of offending Allah. That's what taqwa is, right? It's exactly like when you're driving down the street and you know that that traffic light has what? Has a camera. And so what do? You slow down and you follow, or you see on your GPS that it says that there's a speed trap. What do? You slow down, right? Now, the way we need to think is, look, Allah sees all things, hears all things, He's everywhere because He's unlimited. So I have to be God-wary, aware of what I say, aware of where I look, aware of where I walk, aware of how I talk and what I say. Right? Sometimes think, and I like to use practical examples. If you're having an argument with your siblings, okay, and things get heated, as soon as your parents show up, now, of course, when your mom comes, you might still be fighting and she has to break you up. But as soon as she says, I'm going to tell Baba, what happens? What happens? Everybody's like, huh? Baba? What? It's almost like the fear of disappointment just takes over you, right? Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Right? So, but what about Allah? Is He not greater than Mama and Baba? Did He not give us Mama and Baba? Is He not more worthy of respect, right? Of course, if you respect your parents, you're going to respect Allah because Allah gave you your parents to guide you, as we mentioned. So now I'm going to ask, oh Allah, then, what is it that you want of me? And I will follow. Whatever you tell me to do, I will do, because I know and I recognize your presence and your importance in my life and what you have done for me, and that you have the greatest right upon me. And therefore, based on that, what am I going to do? I'm going to do whatever you tell me. I'm going to say, Sam'an wa ta'a, oh Allah. You tell me wear hijab, I will wear hijab. You tell me don't wear tight shirts, shabab, I won't wear a tight shirt. You tell me pray at a specific time, I will pray at a specific time. You tell me pray in a specific way, I will pray in a specific way. You tell me go to Hajj, I will go to Hajj. You tell me go to Ziyarah, I will go to Ziyarah. You tell me obey Allah and His Messenger and those of the command, the Ahl al-Bayt, then sam'an wa ta'a. That's exactly what I'll do. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Now the question is, and this is what we'll talk about not tomorrow, starting the day after, inshallah, is listen, just as we would communicate with each other, wouldn't it make sense that Allah would have to communicate with us somehow? Right? It would be unfair. Allah would have to communicate with us. He gave us the logical ability to rationalize and to think, right? That if I want something from Ali, I've got to tell him what I want. وبعدين أحاسبه أقول له أنت ما سويت شيء وما سويت شيء. You didn't do this and that and the other. And you're like, you didn't tell me. It's like being in school and you come into class and the teacher's like, hand in your assignments. You're like, you never assigned anything. Or you have a pop quiz. How many people hate pop quizzes? Everyone, right? Why? Are they fair? Are pop quizzes fair? No. Why aren't they fair? Because they pop, without warning, right? So why am I not warned? Makes sense? If it makes sense, say it makes sense. Okay? So we'll talk about that. Tomorrow, what we will cover. Okay, inshallah. So there has to be a message. We need to determine how to figure out which message is Allah's. Make sense? Okay? So we'll do that not tomorrow, but the day after. Tomorrow, I want to answer that question. Remember how I said when we were doing the proof of organization that someone could come to you and ask you, but what about natural disasters? What about congenital disorders? What about wars, right? If you say God is all perfect, then why do all these things happen, right? And are we predestined or do we have freedom of choice? We'll answer all that tomorrow. So make sure that you show up for that, okay? I'll leave you on another cliffhanger. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now let's go back to Karbala. They say, brothers and sisters, that Imam Hussein salamullahi alayhi, when he was on the battlefield and Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha was out there looking at her brother when he was left all alone on the land of Karbala. As she watched her brother valiantly fighting on the land of Karbala, Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha would start to recall. She recalled the story of when her mother was passing away, Sayyidah Zahra Salamullahi alayha. They say, brothers and sisters, that Sayyidah Zahra Salamullahi alayha, when she was about to pass away, that she would ask Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha, dear daughter Zainab, go and get me the kafan that Jibreel brought down to the messenger of Allah. Bring me the shroud. So she goes and she fetches it. She says to her, dear daughter, when Jibreel came down and brought this kafan, this shroud from Jannah, he gave it to the Holy Prophet, and the Holy Prophet split it into 4 separate shrouds. One would be so that we would enshroud him when he dies. The second would be for me, she would say, for Sayyidah Zahra, so that you would enshroud me when I die. The third would be for Amir al-Mu'mineen, Salamullahi alayhi, when he would pass away. And the fourth would be for Imam al-Hasan, Salamullahi alayhi. Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha would look to her mother bewildered and surprised. And she would ask, but what about my brother Hussein? Why does he not have a shroud? The narrators say that Sayyidah Zahra Salamullahi alayha, she would put her head down and she would start crying and weeping. She would say, as for your brother Hussein, he will not need the shroud, dear daughter, for he will be cut to pieces on the land of Karbala. And sure enough, brothers and sisters, on that day, the day of Ashura, when Imam Hussein was left all alone, when all the companions were slain on the land of Karbala, and all of the men of the holy household were also slain and martyred on the land of Karbala, there was nobody left to help the Imam and support him. So what happened is that Imam Salamullahi alayhi would come into the camp, and he would bid his final farewells, and he would say, who will bring me my horse? And it would be Sayyidah Zainab with a heavy heart, with her shoulders pointing down. She would go towards his horse, and she would hold on to the reins, and she would bring the horse to her brother Imam Hussein. هل من منادي ينادي وحسين ومظلوم وغريبا. Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha, she would say, what kind of sister am I that I am giving the horse of death to my brother? Imam Hussein Salamullahi alayhi would take the reins. She would say to him, hold on, dear brother, hold on. There's something I have to do. I promised my mother. It was part of her last will and testament to me. She said, show me your neck, dear brother. So she kissed him on the neck. She said, show me your back. She smelled, show me your chest. He exposed his chest, and she smelled his chest. She looked towards Medina and she said, Ummah, dear mother, I have fulfilled my promise to you, dear mother. And Imam Hussein Salamullahi alayhi would hug his sister, he would kiss her, he would caress her, and he would get onto his horse, and he would go out into the battlefield, where he would fight valiantly until he would be martyred on the land of Karbala. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت رسول الله إلى أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Oh Allah, we ask you and we beseech you that you accept what little we offered today, inshallah, in our knowledge seeking. We ask you and we beseech you that you make us great knowledge seekers, that you allow us to realize that you are always in, that we are always in your presence, O Allah, that we are in the presence of greatness, and that we become God-weary and aware of that with every breath that we take, with every word that we say, with every direction that we look, with every place that we walk, and every direction that we direct ourselves. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, O Allah, we ask you and beseech you that you give health to our sick, that you repay the debts of all those who are indebted of the mu'mineen, that you, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, that you fulfill the wishes of all those who have wants and needs, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Grant them what they ask for. بحق السيدة الزهراء وبحق شهيد كربلاء يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, we ask you and beseech you that you support those who have made such programs possible over the years, in the past, today, in the future, around the world. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, we ask you to continue to support them so that they can always commemorate the dhikr of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein and his family. Oh Allah, we ask you and beseech you that you bestow your mercy upon our dearly departed relatives, and that you hasten the appearance of Imam al-Hujjah salamullahi alayhi, so that he can remove oppression from this earth, and so that truth and equity and justice can reign. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين والفاتحة على أرواح المرحومين مسبوقة مشفوعة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.